Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning, episode 389. Back on the topic of the NFL, Jay and I are going to be bringing you some more bold predictions for the 2021-2022 NFL season. But before we get into that, question of the day: quarterback Kurt Warner has been to 3 Super Bowls. He won one, beating the Tennessee Titans, but he lost twice. Name the 2 teams that he lost to. Again, if you know the answer, comment below, and if you don't, stick around to the end of the video and we'll discuss it then. But Jay did a couple of these videos already, some bold takes or bold predictions for next year. Give me another one.
First bold prediction of this video for the 2021 NFL season, I have the Tennessee Titans missing the NFL playoffs in their AFC playoff picture for 2021. Yes, the playoffs seeding is extended to 7 seeds, so you'd think it'd be easier for them to make it this year. However, AFC is very competitive, and I believe Carson Wentz in the Colts will win that division in the AFC South. Therefore, I think they'll miss the playoffs. Basically, a rough prediction of what I think will happen in the playoff for the playoff picture. I think the Chiefs will, of course, make it. The Bills will make it. The Ravens will make it. And the Colts will make it. Your 4 division winners. And then in the wild card, the 3 wild card seeds, I think it'll be the Dolphins, Chargers, Browns, or maybe even the Steelers or Raiders. I just think there's a lot of teams going around. And due to the Tennessee Titans losing their offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, heading to become the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, I do think that was a big piece of that Titans offense. Therefore, I think they'll miss the playoffs in 2021.
Yeah, interesting you say that. So, on that note, with the Titans, I think that Derrick Henry not necessarily bounces back. He had a good year last year, obviously historic 2,000-yard year. Struggled against the Ravens. I think the Titans come back with some fire, and I disagree that they're going to miss the playoffs. And on the same note, my next bold take is that Carson Wentz actually struggles in Indy, which obviously he just said the Titans are going to miss the playoffs, partly because Carson Wentz does good in Indianapolis. I don't know. I just have no faith in Carson Wentz. I credit a lot of that Super Bowl year for the Eagles to Nick Foles, who came in and did a lot there. And yes, Wentz was having a good year, but if you look at what he's done since then, of course the injury, which was, was an ACL, it was an Achilles.
It was an ACL.
It was a bad injury, so I'll give that to him. Not give it to him, but I will admit that was a tough injury for Wentz. But he's led the league in basically every bad statistical category you can imagine, and just the situation in Philly involving him was just really weak. So I think that despite reuniting with Frank Reich in Indianapolis, that he kind of brings the bad, whatever you want to call it, bad karma to Indy, and I think Indy struggles with Carson Wentz, which would leave Tennessee winning that division for me.
Yeah, I mean, if we're supposed to base it off anything of what happened last year, my prediction would definitely seem extremely bold at this rate, but I just think Carson Wentz pairing up with Frank Reich again, they're going to reunite, and they're going to have that chemistry and bring Carson Wentz back to a great caliber in his game. I'm not going to say he's going to be MVP once again, but I do think he'll be playoff Wentz, and I just think the Titans, Arthur Smith leaving, and I don't think Derrick Henry is going to be able to put up 2,000 yards again. While I do think Ryan Tannehill is a very underrated quarterback, I don't think he's going to take them to the playoffs. The AFC is just that tight this year, and it was this past year as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Vrabel does a good job in Tennessee. I think Tannehill is a very solid quarterback. Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry. I think A.J. Brown is on the come up, and I think that Titans team is in good shape. So I got them actually winning the AFC South. But Jay, give me another bold prediction.
Another bold prediction is in the NFC, and it has to do with the playoff team. I believe the Minnesota Vikings will make the playoffs in the NFC this upcoming year. Just looking at what's really happening around the NFC, I do think the Bears, unless they pick up some quarterback, I don't think they're going to go to the playoffs unless somehow they steal a Sam Darnold or draft a quarterback such as Trey Lance and trade up. Something happens to the Bears. I do think they'll have a good shot at winning the NFC North. Of course, the Packers are always going to be there. However, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, not sure if they're going to be able to deal with the Vikings. Yes, the Vikings aren't this amazing team that are just going to take down the Packers, but a big reason they weren't great this past year is due to injuries, and really just Justin Jefferson has spoke on it. They were not used to the whole COVID protocol, the position of having 0 fans in the NFL. So now moving forward, they're going to be used to this. They're going to have a full roster back and healthy, and I think this Viking teams will go to the playoff. Like I said, they got Kirk Cousins, solid quarterback. They got Dalvin Cook, one of the best running backs, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen, good receiving core, and the defense is solid. It just wasn't healthy. Therefore, I think this Viking team will make the playoffs. Like I said, having 7 seeds in the playoffs right now, I think a lot more teams that are on the edge are going to make it, and I think the Vikings will make it in this year.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. I like the Viking situation in the NFC North with the Packers that I predict to take a downfall from what they were this year. I think the Packers as a team we'll see win 10 games at most. You got Aaron Rodgers, who's not completely happy with the situation there. Yeah. Now tension between him and LaFleur. You got Aaron Jones likely out of there. I guess you do have a top offensive line in the league, but the defense is obviously not good. Obviously, we saw them get kind of shredded against Tampa Bay. So I think the Packers are kind of on the downfall, and the Chicago Bears, if they don't figure out the quarterback situation, is going to be a team that the Vikings can beat twice, and the Lions with Jared Goff are going to be a team that the Vikings will beat twice. Yeah. So I like that idea, or I like that take. Kirk Cousins is certainly solid. That's about as much as I'll give him, but I'll say he's solid. You got Justin Jefferson that was arguably or was there for Rookie of the Year. You got Dalvin Cook, one of the best running backs in the league. So I like that take that Vikings can make the playoffs.
Yeah, 100%.
My next bold take comes in Houston, and I got Deshaun Watson staying with the Houston Texans, but not necessarily his own will. I think he will end up staying in Houston simply because the Texans and him cannot come to terms on a trade. The Texans are a poorly run organization right now, poorly owned organization. Obviously, that has become apparent. They do a lot of stuff really the wrong way. They disrespected Deshaun, but they've made it clear they don't want to trade him, and he's made it clear he wants out. Those two things are not going to mix well, but in the end, the organization can keep him there if they want to, and I think they will, and it'll end up being a situation where he's on the roster but not playing.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely potential either way. I think he will get traded, but I would not be surprised if they don't, just because it is the Texans. They don't do things right. They gave away DeAndre Hopkins, yet they want the entire farm and an entire team for Deshaun Watson. Yes, I understand it, that it's complete two different players, and you have a complete different GM right now, but just given the Texans in general, they're not, like you said, they're not well run, and I could see them keeping Deshaun Watson, because if he sits out, they don't really take the cap hit. Now, if he, played and tanked, they're still paying him. Obviously, that's a different situation. They're kind of wasting their money, but I don't see Deshaun Watson. If he hops on that field, he's going to give it his all. But I do see him sitting out.
He did it all last year, and things were not.
No matter what, if they trade him to where he wants, or if they force him to stay on the team, I don't see these two making up in any shape or form between the organization and Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
For my last bold prediction, I think this is Sam Darnold's year to prove himself and become a very viable quarterback in the NFL. Whether it be he sticks with the Jets, I think they now have a new head coach, Robert Saleh. They have the draft capital, and they have the free agency to finally give Sam Darnold the help he needs. He'll get protection, he'll get a receiving core, and they get a defense. They will be able to give him weapons finally, kind of like Baker Mayfield and the Browns. When they played the past year, when they both had no receiving core due to COVID, you saw Sam Darnold was able to beat Baker Mayfield when they were on the same par. Now I think if they do a similar give Baker or Sam Darnold a similar situation like Baker, where he has all the weapons in the world, we're going to see Sam Darnold step up. And even if he goes to a different team, such as the Washington football team or the Chicago Bears, a team that will win, I think he will do great and be able to prove himself as a starting quarterback. However, if Deshaun Watson and the Texans trade for the Jets and there's some huge farm deal and Sam Darnold ends up on the Texans, I don't think he will succeed
He'll be right
there.
Back to 2-4.
So in contingency, he's on an actual team that can give him some help. I think he will be great and prove himself. But if he goes to an awful team like the Texans, scratch that completely.
Yeah, I guess there's other teams. You mentioned Chicago. I think with the situation in Pittsburgh, he could end up there.
Yeah.
So I do agree that is his year to prove himself. But that doesn't mean he's got to make the playoffs or anything like that. But we're talking win 8 games, which is something he's never done in his career. Never really had a solid year at all with the Jets, but that's because their O-line was terrible. He had no one to throw the ball to, all of that, yes. So, I mean, this is a lot of speculation that they actually do. Well, I mean, theoretically, they take Sewell in the first round.
Yeah.
He's still going to struggle with who he's going to throw the ball to. They take Devontae Smith, and who's going to block for him. So I still don't think the Jets are going to be able to really give him a great opportunity. So I think even when the Jets say they draft I don't know, Devontae Smith to keep Darnold around, they're going to win. Say they win 5 games, then Darnold's going to take a lot of that heat. But again, he's still not the best situation for him. But I do think that there's plenty of situations that Darnold could find himself in that are much better than what he's got in the past, so I do believe that it's true that it is time for him to prove something.
Idealistically, say they draft Sewell at number 2 overall, they pick up Kadarius Toney from Florida at 22nd pick, what they have from Seattle Seahawks, and then in the second round they get Najee Harris. This is a complete new offense with a star wide receiver, star running back, and a star offensive tackle. This team
and a quarterback in Darnold that has shown plenty of times that he can do. He can play.
He
NFL
has
caliber
raw
football.
skill. It's just he hasn't been able to reach his potential. So.
All right, my last bold prediction for the next season, which is perhaps the boldest of today, is that Matthew Stafford will win MVP. I think that this is very far-fetched, but also the possibilities on the table. He's in a situation he's never been in. I guess, yes, he's played with Megatron, but that was a very one-dimensional offense. Now he's got a top defense in the league. He's got Cam Akers to run the football, and Robert Woods throw the ball too. And he's got guys. He's got a top 6 or 7 O-line. We just looked at it in the Rams. Top 1 or 2 defense. And now he's got guys to throw the ball to, not just one Megatron, but some other guys to spread the ball to. And I think that he's got the talent and now finally gets a chance to prove something.
I would love to see him win it, and I think he has the potential to. Like you say, offensive line, he has one of the best receiving corps he's had. But the only reason I think that would be holding him back the most is now that he has such a great defense, he can almost play the role of a game manager where he's not forced to throw 350 yards, 4 touchdowns.
True. The year the Rams won the Super Bowl with Goff, he probably wasn't in any MVP conversations.
Which I think Matt Stafford would take, where he's on a winning team. He doesn't have to sacrifice everything and put everything he has on the field over an MVP season. I think he'd take a game manager role where he could step back and just win football games. I think he'd take winning over anything at this point. So I'd love to see it. And side note, I also think the position he's in is a position Carson Wentz is in, where these guys have just been on bad teams the past few years, and now they're getting a complete new look, both getting new O-lines, new receiving corps, new coaches, new defenses, and both guys could step up and really go for MVP race, and if not, comeback player of the year, whichever really suits them.
Yeah, whichever suits them. All right, guys, that's all for the video. As far as our question today, Kurt Warner, again, has been in 3 Super Bowls, and his 2 losses were against Tom Brady's Patriots and Big Ben's Pittsburgh Steelers. Guys, thanks for watching. Tune in, Warner.